Hi guys, welcome back. I'm Leslie Hine and I'm with Davis Creek Crafts, and I'm also a CTMH, close to my heart demonstrator or maker as it may be. And this is the scrap page from our September class we did last night, but I had several people that missed out on being here because of being sick and whatever. So I wanted to go over this page for you, and we're gonna talk about how to create this rail fence pattern, as it may be called in quilting. And so we're gonna do that, and then I'll talk about some of the little parts and pieces that are on here as well. But the first thing you're gonna need to recreate this is what I'm gonna call my solid bricks. And then you're also going to need some patterned bricks. So my solid bricks, you can cut these with a paper trimmer, but I use my Cricut. So I went into Cricut and I sized these particular bricks at 1 inch by 2.5 inches. And I just layered them along the page so that they were sitting right on top of each other, so that when I cut out the page, I literally had, I think, about 1/4 inch on one side and 1/4 inch on the other that ended up being waste. So it didn't waste a whole lot of paper to do it on the Cricut, versus I probably could have got one more row had I cut them out myself, because they are 1 inch, so you could get 12 across. But for the time that it saved me, it really worked out well. So my patterned bricks will fit on top of my solid bricks, which I cut these out of Harbor, which is my new favorite color. But these will fit in and give you a 1/8 inch border all the way around. So when you cut out your smaller bricks, they are 3/4 inch by 2 1/4 versus 2.5. So those are like that. So when you cut out all your little pieces, which I have several here, and I just used a variety of pattern papers. This one's from the mix-in paper. This is also a mix-in paper. This is a mix-in paper from a different pack, but I went with kind of fall colors. I went with the Harbor color. This lighter blue, I really liked that in there. I believe that's the Glacier. So, and then also when you cut out your pieces, you're going to want to save any of the little scraps, because when you come back in and fill in on the bottoms, you may need a scrap to fill in that's not a full-size brick. So save those as well. And then you're also going to need some Scotch tape. So in order to do this, we're going to build ourselves some mountains. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lay these bricks to where they're on the wrong side, and I'm going to tape it to where it looks like an L, or a backwards L, however you start. So that this is actually going to be right there. So then my next piece is going to be right there. So I'm going to start to create my mountains. So I'm going to lay that, and these are just laying perpendicular to themselves, each one. And then because I don't want them to overlap at all, I am using some Scotch tape on these things. But the nice thing is you only have to do one row taping these down. So like you see, there's my next one is going to go right here across the top. So there's my M that I'm building my little mountain. So basically, if you build an L and attach another L, and then we're going to attach another L to that. Make sure that those are sitting nice and flush. Tape them down. Make sure that all your light sides are facing if you're going to use the dark side of your paper. And I need one more top of an L. So this is where my other L would sit if I was going to keep going, but I don't need that piece. So we're going to throw that off to the side. So here we go. We've got our little mountain. And actually, we're going to flip it like this. And this is where we're going to tape it down to the page. So once we've got our little L's, you can see there's an L, there's an L, there's an L. And then there's where the second L would go, but we're only going to need a little chunk of that corner there. So we'll use a little part or piece for that. Or we'll scoot it to where we can actually, yep. So we're going to scoot that to where that point is right off the paper. This point is at the bottom, this point is at the bottom, this point is at the bottom, and this point is at the bottom. So we've got our little points lined up at the bottom. So then we're going to need our, I'm not going to glue that down because this is a kit that I'm going to give away. So I'm going to just pretend to glue it down. So once this is glued down, then you're going to fill in with your other bricks. And I want 3. So with this one, I'm going to set a brick there, a brick there, a brick here. Now we do have a little corner there, and that's okay. And I'm going to set a brick here. And I'm going to come back in, and I'm going to set a brick in here to build my fence here. I'm going to set a brick in there. I'm going to set a brick in there. So now I'm going to fill in some of my blank space at the bottom of the page. So I'm going to come back and I'm going to set in a brick there. I'm going to glue down a brick there. And I'm going to glue down a brick there. So now I have my 3, but I've only got 2 here. So I am going to fill in with some partial bricks, and I'm going to come back in to fill in the bottom of my page with my other brick, like so. And if you have shorter chunks, obviously, you could use the shorter chunks in here to fill in your gaps at the bottom to where you're not wasting a full brick. Because we are going to go ahead and on page 2, we have that same pattern. We just have a shorter 3 piece or 3 and a partial piece versus the pattern across the whole bottom. So once we've got that all glued down, you can come back in and you can choose where you would like to place your colored bricks. And I just kind of randomly selected spots and filled them in as I saw fit. And you'll just glue those down however you'd like. Some of the pattern papers I chose have patterns on both sides that would work, whereas other ones that I chose, like this glacier one, has a funky blue on the back, and we don't want that funky blue because it's not the right color. So then once you've filled in all your patterns, you can pick and choose where you want those all to be. And I do have some smaller chunks that I can fill in here. But once you've got your little pieces all glued down, then I actually took a 5x7 placeholder, which will include a 4x6 picture. So you'll want to put that down. I used a zip strip off of another, this is a toffee color, but it says thankful, blessed, grateful, thankful, blessed, grateful. So that one is a zip strip. You can use pretty much any zip strip, or you could come back in with that Pretty Harbor glitter paper or even another chunk of that plaid, just a 1/2 inch zip strip on the side, and you can pretty much use anything. And then this little tag here was made from the stitched bracket, and I cut that, the smallest one, and I cut that in half. And then I layered one of the pockets from the backpack die, which you could just use a little rectangle and round the corners if you'd like. And then I came back in with one of the scalloped heart details out of the fancy borders. And I cut off the 3 because, of course, the fancy border die is, you know, 6 inches long. So I just cut off 3 little pieces because that's all I needed for my bracket. But it fits together nice and it makes a nice little tag. And then I took my wood accents and I used some Harbor ink to color those in blue. You could easily just use those, leave those as the wood tone, but those are blue. And then, of course, I came back in with some little sequins out of the fall sequence pack. And then I also, if you look real closely on that one, there is a white edge, which I got this wet with a baby wipe, my bad, but there's a white edge that I used with the new chalk pens, and I outlined that Grateful with that white chalk pen. I don't know if you guys can see that. So, and then I took some stickles and I layered it right over the top of that blue Harbor ink, and it really pops in person. A little harder to see in the details, but if you put some stickles on that and that white ink, and then I did that same thing over here on this side, if you can see, let's see here. So the hearts, I did the same thing. I used some stickles ink and that white gel pen to really create some accents on those little hearts to give it some more pop. And it just gave it just that little bit of oomph that helped bring out that color. So page 2 looks like this. And you're doing the same pattern here. Instead of putting the entire, take our bricks apart for a second, but instead of using the entire thing, we only used a zigzag that far. And then we filled in, so you're doing your L and then another L, and then you're filling in on top of that, those 2 L shapes. And you're filling in and doing the same depth. You're doing 3, so 1 here and 1 here, 1 here, 1 here. So you've got those 3 stacked this way, and then you'll end up with the 3 stacked the other way as well. So that's how that came out on this side of the page. And I just duplicated, added the 1 inch of glitter paper here, a 1/2 inch glitter paper. And then, of course, in that Grateful September Stamp of the Month set, you've got that Grateful with, and I chose Every Day 4 Traditions for This Life. My husband's a farmer, so these pages will have farming pictures on them for me. But for anybody else, there is a whole host of absolutely wonderful phrases in that Grateful September of the Month Stamp of the Month that you could create pretty much anything. You're grateful for your friends, your family, the days, just pretty much anything. So you can create a whole host of fun pages with that Grateful set. And then, of course, I duplicated the 2 Glacier and the Tangerine on this side. I left a box for journaling, which I just cut out with the rectangle stitch die and left that open for journaling. And then on here, I'm going to probably either put a longer picture with an explanation or 3 smaller pictures. I hadn't quite decided what I was going to do there yet, so I kind of left that open for interpretation. And then I added a little bit of wood texture, 1/2 inch on the top and the bottom, so it almost looks like that's a full sheet with this Harbor sitting on top. And then I actually came back in on this side and used that same wood grain piece to kind of tie that in. And I hope that you guys liked that look on that page, and I hope you are able to do something fun with it. Thanks for coming in, and thanks for going to my classes. Bye.